Welcome back. The Pentagon has a new program designed to give defense companies more access to classified information. The SAP Contractor Portfolio Program aims to increase productivity and cost efficiency. Deborah Lee James is the 23rd Secretary of the Air Force. Madam Secretary, welcome back. It's great to see you again. What do we know about this program? It's been a pilot for a period of time. Apparently the pilot was successful. It's now an official program at DoD that Ellen Lord has rolled out. What do we know about it, ma'am?
Well, first of all, Happy New Year. It's great to see you again, Francis. And this is a very interesting program, in my opinion. So we don't know a whole lot, but what we do know is that this is part, I would say, of a drive across the government, certainly a drive across DoD, to see whether or not we can declassify certain information, or if not fully declassify, at least open up the apertures. Because what we find is in the classified world, and in this case, we're talking about the most highly classified programs. In the classified world in general, programs tend to be expensive. There tends not to be a lot of competition because not that many people know about it. And also, it tends to be that it's hard to insert new technologies into the game because things are so highly walled off, one contractor to another. So this is an effort to open up the aperture, and it'll be interesting to see how it all unfolds.
How will this information help the companies do what the department wants them to achieve? Air Force Magazine writes it this way: hoping more insight will make contractors more efficient and cost conscious. How could the information that this program will allow them to access to see more or see earlier or whatever be able to achieve those goals?
Well, certainly in theory, and I think for the most part in practice as well, whenever you have greater transparency, whenever an industry partner has broader knowledge of the totality of a program, how the piece parts fit together, when they have insight into the future, the strategy, the go forward, all of these things ought to be able to allow them to gin up new proposals, bring other capabilities to the table that might be useful to the government. And over time, that should also drive down costs and allow them to optimize the efficiency of what needs to be a very highly cleared workforce, which of course is at a premium here in Washington and across the country.
We don't know the companies that are involved in this, Madam Secretary. This piece says the memo didn't say, memo from Ellen Lord's office didn't say how many or which companies are part of the program, but noted corporations must be on contract for at least 15 special access programs to participate. Understanding that you're not on the inside now, that you're an outside observer, but with experience on the inside, what's your sense of what that level of participation in special access programs means to the ability for these companies to participate in this program?
Well, first of all, I think this is going to be very helpful for those companies who have, broad experience with the special access program. Of course, if you have 15 different contracts with SAPs at the moment, that means you're highly experienced and you, in the minds of the government, you are a trusted partner. You've done well with those programs, you've protected the classified information, et cetera. So if you're in the club, I think you're in like Flynn, as they sometimes say. If you're not in that club, if I were an industry partner not in that club, I would be wondering, well, gee, what's magic about 15? And why isn't it 20? And how about I have 12? How come 12 isn't good enough? I would have all of these extra questions that I would be asking. So again, since we have so little information, and most importantly, we don't have metrics to be able to judge whether or not 2 or 3 years from now we do get more technology insertions or we do drive down costs, whether the goals of the program are met. We will, as members of the public, we won't know this unless DoD shares that information ultimately with us.
And when you draw that distinction, why is 15 the right number? Why not 12? Why not 20, et cetera? It makes me think of the right word is club that you use, Madam Secretary, because I guess if you're in, you know why you're in. And if you're not in, if you don't know why you're not in, that indicates that you're not going to make it anytime soon, it sounds like.
Well, it sounds like it was a judgment call. And of course, government, industry, all walks of life are filled with judgment calls. They had to draw the line at some point, and they made the decision that 15 would be the line. My guess is because it is a drive to increase efficiency, pull down the costs, bring more technology insertion to the table, that Congress, and by the way, there are only a handful in Congress, members and staff, who are allowed to oversee and to have knowledge of these programs, because again, these are highly classified programs. My sense is they'll probably give this some runway, but they will be asking about some of the things we've talked about here, the metrics. How are we going to demonstrate that this works? What's the impact to small business, for example? How many small businesses are allowed in? Is small business being shut out? These are key questions that you and I can't answer, but I guarantee you that Congress will be asking.
What will you watch moving forward, Madam Secretary? What are the markers here that will make a difference to the way this evolves?
Well, in general, over the next several weeks, I'll be watching across the federal government, and especially at the Department of Defense, what other initiatives roll out, because we are clearly in the final weeks of an administration. And when, my administration included, all administrations, there's a race to the finish line to try to push over the finish line programs that are near completion or that you want to have as part of a legacy, good ideas that you want to leave for the future. So I would expect we'll see more things rolling out over the next several weeks. Specifically to this program, as I said, I think it's going to take several years, and it will largely depend on what DoD decides to reveal to the public. Will they eventually reveal the names of the companies? I mean, there's pros and cons to that. Will Congress ask these questions and issue complaints that it should be opened up wider, for example? These are all, and what will the metrics be to measure success? So these are the things I would be watching for the long term specific to this program.
Madam Secretary, thanks very much for joining me. It's great to have you back.
Thank you, Francis.